For the longest time, I had believed in the strength of our love, the unbreakable bond forged over 2 decades. Emily and I had built a life together, brick by brick, laughter by laughter. We'd weathered storms and celebrated sunshine, always holding each other up when life got tough. At least, that's what I thought. I never imagined that our foundation could be cracked by a single moment of weakness, a slip that would send my world spiraling into chaos. Our marriage had long since transitioned from the fiery passion of newlywed bliss to a more stable, if somewhat mundane, routine. I cherished the beauty of our companionship, where love was no longer a whirlwind but a steady breeze. Sure, the romantic gestures had waned over the years. Who has time to send flirty texts when there are bills to pay and kids to raise? Yet I never doubted her loyalty or my love for her. I believed we were partners in every sense of the word, a team navigating the complexities of life together. Returning home a day early from a work trip, I was greeted not by the warm embrace of my wife, but by a scene that shattered my heart. I stepped through the door, expecting to surprise her with a bouquet of her favorite flowers, but instead, I found Emily in bed with another man. The sight was surreal, as if I had stumbled into a nightmarish play where I was the unwitting protagonist. I stood frozen, my breath catching in my throat, feeling as though I had been transported into a terrible movie script. In the blink of an eye, time stood still. The laughter, the love, the memories, all of it dissolved into an abyss of confusion and anger. I could hear the muffled sounds of my heart shattering as I turned on my heel, my legs moving seemingly of their own accord toward the kitchen. I needed air, I needed clarity, I needed anything but the reality of what I had just witnessed. Then I heard it, the front door slamming shut, the sound echoing through the empty hall like a gunshot. The stranger had fled, leaving Emily sitting there, wrapped in a robe that suddenly felt like a flimsy barrier between us. She looked lost, a mix of shame and defiance flickering in her eyes as I approached the table. The silence between us was deafening, heavy with unspoken words, accusations, and shattered dreams. My thoughts spiraled, a chaotic whirlwind of questions and emotions. How could this happen? Did I not love her enough? Had I failed her in some fundamental way? I wanted to scream, to cry, to disappear into nothingness, but all that escaped my lips were the words that cut through the silence like a knife. It was just, she finally whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Sex, right? I shot back, my tone dripping with disdain. Just that. You just slept with someone else because you had an urge and didn't feel like waiting for me. It's not like that. Then how is it? I pressed, anger boiling beneath my skin, my heart racing with betrayal. Michael, her gaze fell to her hands, trembling in her lap. I don't understand, that's why I'm asking. I want to understand because I really don't know. How could you do this to me? I would never have cheated on you. I know, she murmured, her voice heavy with regret. It's my fault. Nothing I say. Go on, explain it. Maybe I'll understand something, I sneered, my voice laced with bitterness. She sighed deeply, as if the weight of her confession could crush her. I felt so lonely, so insignificant. I wanted to experience that feeling again, real closeness, you know. Skin against skin, breath mixing with breath, so close you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Her words struck me like a physical blow. I wanted to see if I could still be attractive to someone. I wanted to feel special again. What are you saying? I shouted, the raw emotion spilling out of me. Do you think I didn't show you enough love? Wasn't everything I provided for you, your beauty products, your clothes, all my support, enough for you? What else did you want? Should I have given you my kidney or liver? I always felt there was something missing. In our relationship. In us. You're a great father and a great roommate. But I don't feel like you're my husband anymore. So, it's my fault. Of course. Now you play the victim. This is over, Emily, do you understand? It's over. As I stormed out of the house, my heart ached with a fury I had never known. I spent that night at my friend's place, drowning my sorrow in whiskey. The next day, I demanded Emily move out of our shared home. The thought of her living under the same roof as me, tainted by her betrayal, filled me with a disgust I couldn't shake. I felt like a man caught in a storm, tossed about by waves of anger and despair. The betrayal was fresh, raw, a wound that throbbed with every thought of her. How could she? How could she do this to us, to our family? I wanted revenge, to take everything from her. But more than that, I wanted her to feel what I felt. I wanted her to know the depths of loneliness that had consumed me in that moment of betrayal. As I laid awake that night, the quiet of the house suffocating, I realized I wasn't just angry, I was broken. The days that followed blurred into a haze of rage and sorrow. I felt like a ghost haunting my own life, drifting through the motions of work and fatherhood while the world around me continued on, blissfully unaware of the storm raging inside me. Each morning, I would wake up and stare at the ceiling, the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest like a leaden blanket. I could still hear the echoes of her voice, the way she had whispered her regrets, and each recollection sent shards of pain ripping through me. I tried to focus on the kids, our two vibrant children, whose laughter had once been my greatest joy. But even their innocent smiles couldn't pull me from the depths of despair. I resented Emily for robbing me of those moments, for making me feel like a hollow shell of the man I once was. Every time I looked at them, I was reminded of the life we had built together, a life that now felt like a cruel joke. "Dad, can we go to the park?" my eldest, Lily, asked one afternoon, her eyes sparkling with the hope of adventure. I forced a smile, the effort feeling like lifting weights with my heart. "Sure, sweetie," I replied, my voice lacking the enthusiasm it once held. As we walked through the park, surrounded by families enjoying their day, the laughter of children echoed around me, a sharp contrast to the turmoil within. I watched Lily and her younger brother, Ethan, race each other to the swings, their joy a painful reminder of what I was losing. I couldn't help but feel like a spectator in my own life, trapped in a reality I had never asked for. After a few days of silence, Emily reached out, her messages a mix of pleading and sorrow. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to understand the motivations behind her betrayal, to see if there was a way to salvage what remained of our marriage. But every time I read her words, the anger flared up again, a wildfire consuming any flicker of compassion. "Michael, please let's talk. I need to explain," one message read. I deleted it without responding, feeling a surge of satisfaction in the act. She had lost the right to explain herself, to justify the choices that had shattered our lives. As the week wore on, I found myself spiraling deeper into despair. I stopped going to the gym, opting instead to drown my sorrows in cheap beer and late-night television. The apartment felt like a prison, the walls closing in as memories of our life together played on a loop in my mind. I began to isolate myself from friends, unwilling to face their pity or questions. I was a man on the edge, teetering between anger and heartbreak. One night, as I sat on the couch nursing a bottle of whiskey, I heard a soft knock at the door. My heart raced as I recognized Emily's silhouette through the frosted glass. I didn't want to let her in, but the thought of facing her again ignited a fire within me. I opened the door, ready to unleash my fury. "What do you want?" I snapped, my voice cold and uninviting. "I just want to talk, please," she replied, her eyes red-rimmed, as if she had been crying. "Talk? What's left to say?" I scoffed, crossing my arms. "You've said enough. You've shown me exactly who you are. Please, just let me explain. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to make you understand," she pleaded, her voice trembling. I stepped aside, allowing her to enter but keeping my distance. I didn't want to be near her, yet I was drawn to the raw vulnerability in her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you, Michael," she began, her voice breaking. "I was lost. I don't expect you to understand, but I was feeling so disconnected. I thought thought what? I interrupted, my voice rising. That sleeping with someone else would fill the void? That you could just erase our years together with a fling? I know how it sounds, she said, her hands wringing nervously. But it was a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake. I thought I could find myself again, that I could feel alive. Alive? I echoed, disbelief flooding my veins. You think betraying your husband is a way to feel alive? Do you even hear yourself? I do, and I'm ashamed. I regret it every moment, she admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks. But I was drowning in my own insecurities. I thought if I could just experience that thrill, I could prove to myself that I was still desirable. Desirable? I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the silence of the room. You were always desirable to me, Emily. But you chose to find validation in someone else's bed instead of in our marriage. You chose to destroy everything we built. I know, and I'm so sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sorry doesn't cut it. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust or erase memories of what you did, I spat. You've made your choice, and now you have to live with it. I stormed out of the room, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and despair. As I paced the living room, I could feel her presence lingering behind me, an ache that was both familiar and foreign. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how deeply she had wounded me, but the words caught in my throat, tangled in a web of grief. Michael, she called softly, her voice breaking through my chaos. I turned to face her, the pain in her eyes almost unbearable. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice hoarse. Just, a chance to make it right. I'm willing to fight for us, she said, desperation evident in her tone. But I couldn't see a way back. The betrayal felt like a chasm between us, an insurmountable divide that stretched further than I could fathom. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Emily, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. You've taken something from me that I may never get back. As I turned away, the weight of my decision settled heavily on my shoulders. I had a choice to make, to allow her back in, to try and rebuild what was lost, or to protect myself from further pain. In that moment, I felt the flicker of hope begin to dim, overshadowed by the enormity of my heartbreak. And so, I chose silence, a silence that echoed through the empty spaces of our once vibrant home, a silence that spoke of loss and an uncertain future. Days turned into weeks, and the silence that filled our home became a suffocating fog. I moved through the motions of life, a ghost in my own skin. Lily and Ethan continued to seek my attention, their innocence a stark contrast to the turmoil within me. I would throw myself into their games, pretending for their sakes, but inside, I felt like a dam ready to burst, holding back the flood of anger and sorrow. Emily tried to reach out, peppering my days with texts that oscillated between remorse and yearning for reconciliation. I read them, but couldn't bring myself to respond. Each time my phone buzzed with her name, I felt a mix of dread and longing. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to remind her of the pain she had caused, while another part craved the comfort of familiarity, the connection we once shared. I started to notice the little things, the way the sunlight filtered through the kitchen window in the morning, the smell of coffee brewing, the soft hum of cartoons in the background. These moments used to spark joy, but now they only served as reminders of what I had lost. The laughter of my children, once a symphony, felt like a jarring cacophony that echoed in the empty chambers of my heart. One particularly heavy afternoon, I found myself sitting on the porch, watching the kids play in the yard. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink as the sun dipped below the horizon. My mind drifted to the memories of Emily and me, our shared dreams, the promises we had made. Those memories were like shards of glass, beautiful yet painfully sharp. Suddenly, a shadow fell across me. I looked up to see Emily standing there, her expression a mixture of hope and trepidation. I felt a surge of anger but also a flicker of something else, longing. Regret? Can we talk? She asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated, my heart racing. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave, to slam the door on the remnants of what we had. But another part of me, the part that remembered our laughter and love, urged me to listen. Fine, I said, my tone clipped. But make it quick. She sat down beside me, the space between us charged with unspoken words. I know I've lost your trust, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I'm trying to understand what happened, and I want to be honest with you. I turned my gaze to the kids, who were now chasing each other, their laughter filling the air. Honesty? What good is honesty now? I asked, bitterness lacing my words. You've already shattered everything. I know, she replied, her voice trembling. But I want you to know that I'm committed to doing the work it takes to rebuild what I've broken. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand my own actions and the emptiness I felt. I don't want to lose you or our family. I felt my defenses start to crack, but I hardened my heart against the temptation of hope. And what if this is just another phase for you? What if you get lost again? I can't keep going through this cycle, Emily. It's exhausting. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I understand. I don't expect you to trust me right away. I just want you to know I'm willing to fight for us. For the family we built together. Fight? I scoffed, shaking my head. You've already fought, and you lost. You made your choice. I know. But I want to try and earn back your trust. I want to show you that I can be better, that I can be the wife you deserve, she said, her voice growing more resolute. I felt the weight of her words pressing down on me, and for the first time, I saw the flicker of sincerity in her eyes. But still, the pain was too fresh, too raw. I was caught in a storm of conflicting emotions, torn between the desire to protect myself and the faint hope that perhaps, just maybe, we could find our way back. Michael, she said, her voice breaking through my turmoil. I love you. I've always loved you. I made a terrible mistake, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove that to you. Love. The word echoed in my mind, a haunting melody that brought with it both warmth and pain. Could I allow myself to feel that again? Could I trust her with my heart after she had so carelessly shattered it? As I sat there, the sun setting behind us, casting a golden glow over the yard, I found myself at a crossroads. I could choose to embrace the silence of my hurt, to close the door on our past and walk away. Or I could take a leap of faith, step into the unknown, and allow the possibility of healing, however terrifying that prospect may be. Emily, I began, my voice shaky but steady, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can forgive you, or if I want to try and rebuild what we had. She nodded slowly, her eyes searching mine. I'm not asking for your forgiveness right now. I'm just asking for a chance to show you that I can change, that I can be the partner you deserve. The weight of her plea hung in the air, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of a decision forming in my heart. It was a small spark, but it was there, beckoning me to take a step forward, to confront the darkness and see if light could emerge from the chaos. Then let's start there, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Let's see if we can find a way back. But know this, Emily, it won't be easy. I won't make it easy for you. She nodded, relief flooding her features. I'll do whatever it takes, Michael. I promise. As we sat together in the fading light, I realized that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but perhaps it was a journey worth taking. One step at a time, I thought, maybe we could find our way back to each other, through the darkness and into the light. The days that followed were a delicate dance of cautious optimism and lingering pain. I found myself grappling with the remnants of trust that had been so carelessly dismantled. Each moment with Emily felt like walking on a tightrope, the chasm of my hurt always threatening to pull me down into despair. Yet, beneath the weight of my sorrow, there was a flicker of hope that I hadn't felt in a long time. Emily was committed, that much was clear. She began attending therapy sessions regularly and encouraged me to join her for family counseling. At first, the idea made my stomach churn. I didn't want a stranger picking apart my life, my pain. But as I watched her work tirelessly to mend what she had broken, I felt a shift within myself. Maybe it was time to confront the ghosts that haunted us. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, I found Emily in the living room, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the lamp as she flipped through a family photo album. The sight of her brought a wave of nostalgia, and I felt drawn to the memories captured within those pages, our wedding day, family vacations, the birth of our children. I approached hesitantly, standing beside her as she traced her fingers over a photograph of us laughing on a beach. "Do you remember this day?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. "Of course," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "You wore that ridiculous sun hat." She smiled through her tears. "And you kept trying to take it off me. It was so windy." I chuckled softly, the warmth of the memory momentarily pushing aside the shadows that loomed between us. "Yeah, and you refused to take it off, even when it blew away. You chased it down the beach like it was a prize." "That was a good day," she said, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I want to have more days like that, Michael." Her sincerity pierced the veil of my defenses, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of something resembling trust. "It's going to take time," I reminded her. "I need to see that you're serious about this." "I am," she insisted, her voice firm. "I'll do whatever it takes. I want us to be a family again." As the days turned into weeks, we began to navigate our new reality together. We attended family counseling sessions, which were often uncomfortable but necessary. We talked about the pain and the anger, the mistakes and the regrets. I found it difficult to articulate my feelings, but with Emily's unwavering support, I slowly began to peel back the layers of my hurt. One evening, after a particularly challenging session, I sat on the porch, the cool breeze brushing against my skin. Emily joined me, her presence a comforting balm to my frayed nerves. "You did well today," she said softly, her hand finding mine. "I know it's hard to open up. I just don't want to keep revisiting the same wounds," I admitted, my voice filled with a mix of frustration and vulnerability. "It feels like we're stuck in a loop." She squeezed my hand, her gaze unwavering. "We have to face it to heal, Michael. It's the only way we can move forward. I believe in us." Her conviction stirred something deep within me. I wanted to believe, too, wanted to believe that we could emerge from this darkness, stronger than before. But the fear lingered, a constant companion that whispered doubts into my ear. As the weeks unfolded, I started to notice subtle changes in our dynamics. Emily was more present, actively engaging with the kids, and I found myself laughing more. We were rebuilding our foundation, piece by piece, but the cracks were still there, hidden beneath the surface. One Saturday morning, we decided to take the kids to the park, a simple outing that held the promise of normalcy. As we strolled hand in hand, watching Lily and Ethan run ahead, I felt a flicker of joy igniting my heart. Emily caught my eye and smiled, a genuine smile that reminded me of the woman I had fallen in love with. But just as quickly as the joy appeared, it was replaced by the weight of uncertainty. I couldn't shake the lingering fear that this was all temporary, that the peace we were curating could shatter at any moment. That evening, after the kids had fallen asleep, I found Emily sitting on the couch, her face illuminated by the soft light of the lamp. She looked up as I entered, her expression a mix of hope and concern. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice hesitant. "Sure," I replied, taking a seat across from her. "I know it's a long process," she began, her fingers nervously twisting a strand of hair. "But I want you to know that I'm committed to this. I'm committed to us." "I appreciate that," I said, my heart heavy with the weight of my own emotions. "But I still feel like I'm holding back. Like I'm afraid to fully let you in." "I understand," she said gently. And it's okay to feel that way. But I want you to know that I'm here, ready to listen whenever you're ready to share. Her words struck a chord within me, a reminder that healing was not a linear path. It was messy, unpredictable, and fraught with challenges. I guess I just don't want to be hurt again, I confessed, my voice trembling. I don't want to go back to that place. Neither do I, she said, her eyes shining with sincerity. But we can't move forward if we don't confront the past. I promise you, I'll fight for us, every step of the way. As I looked into her eyes, I saw the sincerity reflected back at me. It was a moment of vulnerability, a fragile connection that reminded me of the love we once shared. Okay, I said finally, my voice steadier than I felt. Let's keep working on this. Together. In that moment, I felt a shift within me, a small but significant step toward healing. I didn't know what the future held, but I was willing to embrace the uncertainty, to face the challenges head-on. Together, we would navigate the storm, and perhaps, just perhaps, we would find our way back to the light. The days following our conversation felt like a fragile truce, a tentative agreement to venture into the unknown together. We continued attending therapy, delving deeper into the roots of our pain, and while it was often exhausting, there was a sense of camaraderie in our struggle. I began to understand that confronting the past wasn't just about reliving old wounds, it was about acknowledging them, understanding their impact, and finding a path forward. One Friday evening, after a particularly intense session, Emily suggested we spend some time together away from the kids. Let's go for a walk, she proposed, her eyes hopeful. I hesitated at first, the thought of being alone with her stirring a mix of excitement and anxiety within me. But I nodded, sensing the importance of this moment. We wandered through the nearby park, the sun dipping below the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the path. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of autumn leaves, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. We walked side by side, our hands brushing against each other, a small but significant reminder of the connection we were slowly rebuilding. Do you remember when we used to do this all the time? Emily asked, her voice soft, almost wistful. Yeah, I replied, a smile creeping onto my face. We'd talk for hours about anything and everything. I miss that, she admitted, glancing at me. I miss us. Her words hit me like a wave, a mixture of longing and sadness. I miss it too, I confessed. But it's hard to shake off the past. Sometimes, it feels like it looms over us like a shadow. I know, she said, her voice steady. But we can't let it define us. We have to create new memories together, ones that can replace the old ones. As we continued to walk, I felt the weight of her words settling into my heart. What if we could forge a new path, one where the past served as a lesson rather than a burden? The idea was both exhilarating and daunting, but I was willing to try. Let's start small, I suggested. Maybe we could plan a family outing next weekend. Something fun for the kids, and us. Emily's face lit up with excitement. I'd love that. We could go to the zoo or have a picnic by the lake. Just something to enjoy together. The thought of spending a day as a family brought a smile to my face. Yeah, that sounds perfect, I said, feeling a flicker of joy igniting within me. As the week progressed, we busied ourselves with planning our outing. Emily and I found ourselves laughing as we picked out snacks and games for the kids. It was a welcome distraction from the heaviness that had settled over us for so long, and I felt hope blooming in the corners of my heart. The day of our outing arrived, and the sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over everything. The kids were buzzing with excitement as we loaded the car, their laughter filling the air. I watched as Emily interacted with them, her joy infectious. It was moments like these that reminded me of the woman I had fallen in love with, the mother who cherished our children and the partner who stood by me through thick and thin. As we arrived at the park, I felt a sense of anticipation. We set up our picnic blanket and unpacked our snacks, the laughter of our children mingling with the sounds of nature around us. I sat back, watching Emily as she played catch with Ethan while Lily danced around them, her laughter ringing like music in the air. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of normalcy wash over me. The weight of my worries was still there, but it felt lighter in this moment, overshadowed by the joy of being together. As the day unfolded, we explored the park, shared stories, and created new memories. I couldn't help but notice the way Emily's eyes sparkled with happiness, the warmth of her smile igniting something deep within me. I was learning to appreciate the present, to let go of the past, if only for a day. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we gathered around our picnic blanket for a final snack. The kids were tired but happy, their cheeks flushed from running around. Emily and I exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding passing between us. "Thank you for today," I said, my voice filled with sincerity. "It meant a lot to me." "I'm glad," she replied, her eyes shining. "I want us to have more days like this, days where we can just be us." Her words hung in the air, a promise for the future. But as the moment passed, so did the shadows of doubt that lingered in the back of my mind. Would we be able to sustain this newfound connection? Would the storm that had once threatened to tear us apart return? As we packed up and headed home, I felt a sense of determination rising within me. The road to healing was long and winding, but I was willing to walk it, step by step, together. We were learning to face the storm, to embrace the uncertainty, and perhaps, just perhaps, we could emerge stronger on the other side. The days following our picnic were a delicate dance of hope and trepidation. I found myself replaying the moments of that day in my mind, the sound of our children's laughter, the warmth of Emily's hand in mine, the joy that had momentarily eclipsed our struggles. It was a glimpse of the life we once had, and I clung to that feeling like a lifeline. Therapy sessions continued, each one peeling back layers of our past. We discussed everything from our childhoods to our shared experiences as parents. For the first time, I felt we were not just two individuals sitting across from each other, but partners navigating the complexities of our relationship together. It was a shift I desperately needed. One evening, as we sat on the couch after the kids had gone to bed, I turned to Emily. "Can we talk about what's next?" I asked, my voice steady but my heart racing. "Of course," she replied, her expression open and inviting. "I've been thinking about how we can build on our day at the park. I want to create more opportunities for us to connect," I said, searching her face for any hint of hesitation. "That sounds wonderful," she encouraged. "I want that too." We discussed ideas, date nights, family activities, even simple moments like cooking together. We made a pact to prioritize our relationship, to be intentional about carving out time for each other amidst the chaos of our busy lives. It felt like a commitment to ourselves, a promise that we would not let the past overshadow our future. As weeks turned into months, we began to establish a new rhythm. We regularly scheduled date nights, sometimes venturing out, while other times enjoying a quiet evening at home after the kids were asleep. We laughed more, talked more, and even argued less. It was as if a weight had been lifted, allowing us to breathe a bit easier. Yet, even amidst this newfound connection, the shadows of doubt occasionally crept back in. There were moments when I would catch myself bracing for the inevitable storm, the fear of slipping back into old patterns lurking just beneath the surface. I often found solace in journaling, documenting my thoughts and feelings, which helped me process the mixture of hope and anxiety that came with rebuilding our relationship. One particularly rainy afternoon, I sat on the porch, watching the droplets dance on the surface of the puddles. Emily joined me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, her voice soft. "Just the storms," I admitted. "Sometimes I worry about what happens when the clouds roll in again." Emily sighed, leaning her head against mine. "I understand. But we've made it through storms before, haven't we? We're learning how to navigate them together." Her words resonated deeply. While we couldn't control the weather, we could control how we responded to it. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her presence, the comfort of our shared journey. "You're right," I said, my voice steadier now. "We have each other, and that's what matters." As the months passed, we embraced both the calm and the storms. We learned to communicate more openly, to express our fears and dreams without judgment. I found strength in vulnerability, discovering that sharing my struggles only deepened our bond. One evening, as we sat together watching the kids play in the yard, I felt a surge of gratitude wash over me. "Look at them," I said, my voice filled with emotion. "They're so happy." "They really are," Emily agreed, her gaze softening as she watched our children. "And I think they can feel how much we're trying." I nodded, realizing that our efforts were not just for ourselves but for our family. We were creating a home filled with love, laughter, and understanding, a stark contrast to the stormy past we had faced. In the months that followed, we celebrated milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, and small victories. We made new traditions, incorporating moments of joy into our everyday lives. We took family trips, explored new hobbies together, and even stepped out of our comfort zones. Each experience was a reminder that we were capable of growth, of healing, and of love. And then, one crisp autumn evening, as we cozied up in front of the fireplace, I turned to Emily and said, "I think we're really doing it. We're facing the storms and finding our way." She smiled, a glimmer of pride in her eyes. "We are. And I believe we can weather whatever comes next." In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope. The storm may come again, but we had learned how to navigate it together. With every challenge we faced, we emerged stronger, more resilient, and more connected. As I held Emily close, I knew that the journey ahead would not always be easy, but we were ready to face it, together. The winter months settled in with a quiet grace, blanketing our world in white and transforming our familiar surroundings into a winter wonderland. Despite the chill outside, our home was warm with laughter and the scent of baked goods wafting from the kitchen. Our commitment to each other and our family had created a nurturing environment, and I was grateful for the newfound peace. As the holidays approached, I found myself reflecting on how far we had come. The echoes of our past struggles lingered, but they no longer dominated our lives. Instead, they served as reminders of our resilience and the importance of maintaining our connection. We decorated the house together, our children's excitement infectious as we hung ornaments and strung lights. Emily and I stole glances at each other, sharing smiles that spoke volumes about our journey. One evening, as the kids nestled into their beds, I turned to Emily. "What do you think about hosting a holiday gathering this year?" I asked, feeling a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. "Like a family party," she replied, her eyes sparkling with interest. "Yeah, inviting our parents and siblings. It could be a way to celebrate how far we've come," I suggested. Emily considered it for a moment, then nodded. "I love that idea. It's time to share our joy with the people we care about." That weekend, we set to work planning the gathering. We collaborated on the menu, creating a blend of our favorite dishes and new recipes we wanted to try. The kitchen became our haven, filled with the sounds of chopping vegetables, sizzling pans, and the warm aroma of cinnamon and nutmeg. As the day of the gathering approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. It was one thing to celebrate our progress privately, but sharing it with others felt like a leap of faith. Would they see the changes in us? Would they recognize the love and effort we had poured into our relationship? On the day of the party, our home buzzed with energy. Family members arrived, bringing gifts and holiday cheer. As we welcomed each guest, I felt a swell of pride at the warm atmosphere we had created. The laughter of our children mingled with the conversations of our loved ones, creating a symphony of joy that filled every corner. When it was time for dinner, we gathered around the table, the centerpiece adorned with candles and a beautiful arrangement of seasonal flowers. As I looked around at the faces of those I loved, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. "Before we dig in," I said, clearing my throat to gather my thoughts. I'd like to say a few words. Emily looked at me with a gentle smile, encouraging me to continue. This year has been transformative for us, I began, glancing at her. We've faced challenges, but we've also found strength in each other. I want to thank all of you for your support and love. It means the world to us. A warm silence enveloped the room, and I could see the pride in our family's eyes. They knew how far we had come, and it felt good to share that journey with them. As dinner progressed, the atmosphere was filled with stories, laughter, and love. I watched as Emily effortlessly moved between conversations, her smile captivating everyone around her. There was a time when I would have felt insecure, but tonight, I felt proud to stand by her side, knowing we were both in a better place. After dessert, we gathered in the living room, where the kids excitedly opened gifts. The joy on their faces was contagious, and I couldn't help but feel that we had created something special, a legacy of love that would carry on through the generations. Later, as the evening wound down and our guests began to leave, I turned to Emily. "Thank you for everything today," I said, wrapping my arms around her waist. I couldn't have imagined a better way to celebrate. She smiled up at me, her eyes reflecting the flickering light of the candles. "We did this together. I'm so proud of us." As we cleaned up the remnants of the night, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. The storm may still come, but we had built a foundation of love, trust, and communication that would help us weather whatever lay ahead. In the following weeks, we continued to nurture our relationship, carving out time for each other amidst the busyness of life. We embraced the everyday moments, cooking together, sharing stories, and even facing challenges as a united front. One evening, while we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I turned to Emily and said, "Do you remember how we used to be? How far we've come?" She nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I do. And I'm grateful for every step of this journey. It has brought us closer." I took her hand, feeling the warmth of her touch. "I believe our love can withstand anything. Together, we're stronger." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I realized that our lives were now a tapestry woven with love, resilience, and hope. The storms may come and go, but our bond would remain steadfast, guiding us through whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, we were ready to embrace the dawn of a new chapter, a chapter filled with promise, adventure, and the unwavering belief that love conquers all. As the new year unfolded, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges of the past had shaped us, but they no longer defined our path. Instead, we were filled with hope and excitement for what lay ahead. With every sunrise, we embraced the opportunity for growth, both as individuals and as a family. In January, we decided to embark on a family adventure that would take us beyond our comfort zone. A weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains seemed like the perfect way to reconnect with nature and each other. We gathered supplies, packed our bags, and set off on a chilly Friday afternoon, our hearts filled with anticipation. The drive was filled with laughter, music, and the occasional sing-along from the back seat, where the kids were bustling with energy. As we approached the cabin, nestled among towering pines and a blanket of snow, I felt a sense of tranquility wash over me. This was a place where we could leave behind our daily routines and simply be together. Upon arrival, we quickly unloaded the car and explored our temporary home. The cabin was cozy, with a crackling fireplace and a large window that offered stunning views of the snow-covered landscape. Emily and I exchanged smiles, realizing this was the perfect setting for our family to recharge and reconnect. That evening, we settled in for a simple dinner of pasta and garlic bread. As we gathered around the table, I took a moment to appreciate the scene before me. My children were animatedly discussing their day, while Emily's laughter rang out, filling the room with warmth. It was a stark contrast to the silence that had once hung over our household during the darker days. After dinner, we bundled up and ventured outside to play in the snow. The night was alive with the sound of our children's laughter as they built snowmen and engaged in friendly snowball fights. Emily and I joined in, throwing caution to the wind and allowing ourselves to be swept up in the joy of the moment. As I watched her throw a snowball at me, her eyes sparkling with mischief, I couldn't help but laugh. It felt liberating to let go of our worries and simply enjoy each other's company. Later that night, as we gathered around the fireplace, I felt a wave of contentment wash over me. We shared stories, roasted marshmallows, and made s'mores, the flickering flames illuminating our faces. It was a reminder that happiness doesn't always come from grand gestures but often from the simplest of moments spent together. The next morning, we woke to a beautiful winter landscape, the world outside transformed into a glittering wonderland. As the sun rose, casting a warm glow over the snow, we decided to go for a hike. Bundled in layers, we set off on a trail that led us deeper into the woods. The fresh air invigorated our spirits, and the crunch of snow beneath our boots created a symphony of serenity. As we reached a clearing, I paused to take in the breathtaking view. The mountains loomed majestically in the distance, and I felt a sense of awe wash over me. "This is incredible," I said, turning to Emily. "It's moments like this that remind me of the beauty in life." She nodded, her eyes sparkling with joy. "It really is. I'm so glad we're here together." We continued our hike, our children exploring and playing in the snow, their laughter echoing through the trees. In that moment, surrounded by nature and the love of my family, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had weathered the storms, and now we were reaping the rewards of our perseverance. Later that evening, as we settled down for the night, I reflected on our journey. The challenges we had faced had only served to strengthen our bond. Through open communication and a commitment to growth, we had transformed our relationship into something beautiful, something worth cherishing. As I tucked the kids into bed, I paused at their doorway, watching them drift off to sleep. In that quiet moment, I realized that our family was a tapestry woven with love, laughter, and the promise of new adventures. I felt a deep sense of responsibility to nurture that bond, to ensure that our home remained a sanctuary of love. The following weeks brought new beginnings. Emily and I made it a priority to schedule regular date nights, carving out time for just the two of us. Whether it was a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant or a cozy movie night at home, those moments became sacred, allowing us to reconnect and strengthen our partnership. We also introduced a family tradition, Sunday morning breakfasts where we would try new recipes together. The kitchen became a lively space, filled with laughter, flour fights, and the sweet aroma of pancakes, waffles, and cinnamon rolls. It was a time for creativity and collaboration, fostering a sense of unity among us. As winter melted into spring, I felt an undeniable shift in our lives. The world was awakening, and so were we. Our relationship blossomed, and our family thrived. We began to dream about future adventures, traveling to new places, exploring different cultures, and creating memories that would last a lifetime. One afternoon, while sitting on the porch with Emily, I turned to her and said, "What do you think about planning a family trip this summer? Somewhere we can all explore and have fun together." Her eyes lit up. "I love that idea. Maybe a road trip to the coast. We could build sandcastles, swim in the ocean, and enjoy the sunsets." I could already envision the laughter, the shared moments, and the joy of discovering new places together. "Let's do it," I said, feeling excitement bubble within me. "Let's make it a summer to remember." As we planned and prepared for our upcoming adventure, I was filled with gratitude for the journey we had undertaken. It had not always been easy, but every challenge had led us to this moment of joy and connection. With the dawn of each new day, I realized that life is a series of chapters, each one building upon the last. We had embraced the darkness and emerged into the light, stronger and more united than ever. Our love story was far from over, it was evolving, growing, and transforming into something even more beautiful. Together, we were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that with love as our foundation, we could conquer any challenge and savor every moment of joy. The horizon was bright, and I couldn't wait to see what adventures awaited us in the chapters to come. As the summer approached, anticipation filled our home. Our plans for the coastal road trip became a central theme of conversations, fueling our excitement and imagination. Each day, the kids would ask, "Is it time to go yet?" Their enthusiasm was infectious, and it reminded me of the importance of nurturing that sense of wonder and adventure within our family. The week of our departure finally arrived, and it felt like the opening of a new chapter. We packed our car with essentials, beach towels, sunscreen, snacks, and a carefully curated playlist of our favorite songs. I glanced at Emily as we loaded the last of the bags, her eyes sparkling with the same excitement that danced in our children's. It was a reminder that this journey was as much about reconnecting with each other as it was about exploring new places. As we set off on that sunny morning, the world outside our windows transformed into a blur of green fields and golden sunlight. The highway stretched ahead like an open invitation, and I could feel the thrill of the unknown awaiting us. The kids filled the car with laughter and chatter, their voices harmonizing with the rhythm of the road. Our first stop was a quaint town known for its charming shops and local eateries. We parked the car and set out to explore, letting the kids lead the way. We wandered through bustling markets, sampling homemade fudge and fresh fruit. At one shop, we stumbled upon a collection of handcrafted souvenirs. The children eagerly picked out trinkets to remember the trip by, little tokens that would forever remind them of this adventure. As the sun began to set, we found a cozy diner with a retro vibe. We settled into a booth, the walls adorned with memorabilia from decades past. Over milkshakes and burgers, we shared stories and laughter, soaking in the vibrant atmosphere. I looked around the table, and my heart swelled with gratitude. This was more than just a trip, it was a celebration of our newfound joy, resilience, and love. The next leg of our journey took us along the coast, where the sound of crashing waves beckoned us closer. As we arrived at our beachside destination, the salty air filled our lungs, and the horizon stretched endlessly before us. The sight of the ocean, glistening under the sun, felt like a promise of adventure, exploration, and connection. We raced to the beach, kicking off our shoes and feeling the warm sand beneath our feet. The kids squealed with delight as they ran toward the water, their laughter mingling with the sound of the surf. Emily and I joined them, splashing in the waves and relishing the freedom of being together in this beautiful place. Each day was filled with new experiences. We built intricate sandcastles, collected seashells, and watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink and orange. We took long walks along the shoreline, our feet sinking into the cool sand as we shared our hopes and dreams for the future. It was during these quiet moments that I realized how far we had come, how the love we had nurtured was now a guiding light in our lives. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered around a bonfire on the beach. The crackling flames illuminated our faces, and we toasted marshmallows under a canopy of stars. I felt a sense of awe as I watched my family, each of us united by laughter, stories, and the warmth of the fire. It was a moment etched in time, a reminder that the simplest pleasures are often the most profound. As the trip continued, we made it a point to explore local attractions and immerse ourselves in the culture of the area. We visited an aquarium, marveling at the vibrant marine life, and took a scenic boat tour, where we witnessed dolphins dancing in the waves. With each new experience, we were weaving a tapestry of memories that would forever bind us. On our last day, we gathered for a family meeting, an impromptu session filled with reflection and gratitude. We shared our favorite moments from the trip, the laughter echoing as we recounted the silliness of our adventures. Emily suggested we keep a travel journal, documenting our experiences and lessons learned from each journey. The kids were thrilled with the idea, eager to capture the essence of our adventures in words and drawings. As we packed the car for the journey home, I felt a bittersweet mix of emotions. We were leaving behind the sun-kissed shores but taking with us the warmth of the memories we had created. The road home was filled with quiet contentment, punctuated by discussions of our next adventure and the dreams we wanted to pursue. Arriving back home, I realized that our time away had not only strengthened our bond but had also reignited our spirits. The laughter echoed in our hearts, and the love we shared felt more vibrant than ever. Each day, as we returned to our routine, we carried a piece of that beachside magic with us, a reminder that life is about embracing the journey, no matter where it leads. As we settled back into our daily lives, I made a promise to keep nurturing the sense of adventure within our family. Our road trip was just one of many experiences we would embark on together. I envisioned future travels, exploring new landscapes, and creating lasting memories that would weave our family closer together. Through every twist and turn of life, we would face it all as a united front, bound by love, laughter, and the promise of new horizons. Together, we would embrace the road less traveled, knowing that every journey would bring us closer to one another and help us discover the beauty of life along the way. The months that followed our coastal adventure were filled with a renewed energy. Inspired by the memories we had created, Emily and I made it a priority to incorporate small adventures into our everyday lives. Weekend hikes, spontaneous picnics in the park, and visits to local museums became our new norm. Each outing reminded us that exploration didn't always require grand plans or distant destinations. Sometimes, the simplest experiences held the most joy. One Saturday morning, we decided to take a leisurely drive to a nearby nature reserve. The kids were buzzing with enthusiasm, their imaginations ignited by the prospect of spotting wildlife. As we navigated the winding roads, I could see the landscape shifting outside the windows, rolling hills giving way to dense forests. It was a reminder that adventure was often just a few miles away if we were willing to seek it out. Upon arrival, we hiked along a scenic trail that meandered through towering trees and vibrant wildflowers. The air was fresh and invigorating, and the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves enveloped us like a warm embrace. We paused to take in the beauty around us, our hearts full of gratitude for the moment and for each other. The kids raced ahead, their laughter echoing in the stillness, while Emily and I shared knowing smiles, recognizing the magic of this shared experience. During our hikes, we began a new tradition. Each family member would take turns sharing a story or a fun fact about nature. One day, Max excitedly recounted how beavers build dams, while Lily shared her fascination with the life cycle of butterflies. These moments not only sparked curiosity but also deepened our connection to the world around us. It was a beautiful way to weave learning into our adventures, reinforcing the idea that knowledge can be both fun and meaningful. As the seasons changed, so did our adventures. Fall brought vibrant foliage, and we decided to visit a pumpkin patch. The kids were in awe of the sprawling fields filled with pumpkins of every shape and size. We spent hours picking the perfect ones, imagining all the decorations we would create for Halloween. Later, we enjoyed hot apple cider while watching a local band play folk music, the warmth of the drinks and the rhythm of the music creating a cozy atmosphere. Winter followed, and with it, the promise of snow. We embraced the cold with open arms, bundling up for family outings to the local ice rink and sledding hills. One snowy afternoon, we built the most elaborate snowman, complete with a scarf and a hat, and declared it our family mascot for the winter season. Through each season, our adventures became a canvas for memories that painted our family story. Emily and I documented these experiences in the travel journal we had started after our beach trip. Each page was filled with drawings, photographs, and notes capturing everything from our laughter to the lessons we learned along the way. It became a treasured artifact of our family's journey, a testament to the love and joy we cultivated in every moment together. As the year came to a close, we reflected on our adventures during a cozy family gathering around the fireplace. The crackling flames provided a warm backdrop as we shared our favorite memories and set intentions for the new year ahead. Emily suggested we create a vision board, a collaborative project that would allow each of us to express our hopes and dreams. Over the course of the evening, we compiled images, words, and drawings that represented our aspirations. Max envisioned a camping trip under the stars, while Lily dreamed of visiting a theme park. Emily and I focused on strengthening our bond through more travel, hoping to explore new cultures together. With the vision board proudly displayed in our living room, it became a daily reminder of our family's shared dreams. Each morning, I would glance at it and feel a rush of optimism, knowing that we were united in our pursuit of adventure and connection. As spring approached, we found ourselves yearning for something new. Inspired by our vision board, we planned a family trip to a national park known for its breathtaking scenery and rich wildlife. The anticipation bubbled within us as we researched the trails, the wildlife we hoped to see, and the stories we wanted to share around the campfire in the evenings. The day of our departure arrived, and as we loaded the car, I felt a sense of excitement wash over me. This was more than just a trip, it was a continuation of our journey, a testament to the bonds we had forged and the love that guided us. As we drove toward the park, the landscape transformed once again, each mile bringing us closer to new experiences. I couldn't help but reflect on how our adventures had become the heartbeat of our family. They reminded us to embrace life's uncertainties, to find joy in the little things, and to celebrate the beauty of togetherness. With open hearts and eager spirits, we embarked on this new leg of our journey, ready to explore the wonders that awaited us and create lasting memories that would echo through our lives for years to come. The road less traveled had become our chosen path, and I knew that whatever we encountered along the way, we would face it together, hand in hand, heart to heart.